Brodes Media.
Let me tell you how I felt leading up to this journey that you call the NBA trade deadline. So on, what was that, Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, I started a 4-hour radio show. But the way I plan and the way that I show prep is prior to me leaving for the studio, I'll sit down in my office here and I'll put together my show sheet and I'll plan accordingly on what I wanted to do. And I wanted to talk about Dave Dombrowski and his interview with Joe DeCamara and John Ritchie. So that's exactly what I prepped for. Then the 76ers game started against the Golden State Warriors at the Wells Fargo Center. And they sucked. They're getting blown out when Steph Curry scores 9 frickin' points. Their leading scorer was Council. That's unacceptable crap. That is garbage. So as soon as the game ended, I was going on the air, and I couldn't help myself. I had to push back the Phillies convo and go right into the thick of it that DARYL Morey needs to do nothing. He needs to sell, if anything, because this team doesn't stand a damn chance, considering Joel Embiid most likely won't return for any regular season play. Therefore, what do we even expect if he is back by the playoffs? It just looks awful, and it looks bad, and they're not even competitive. They're getting blown out big time by any team. Outside of that Utah game where Maxey dropped 51, Tobias could only jack up 1 3-pointer in the last 2 games. 1 3-pointer each. That's disgusting. How is there not more shots taken from behind the arc by Tobias without Joel Embiid on the floor? It's crazy. I cannot believe it. Maxey's not shooting the ball very efficiently. What was I trying to tell you? It's night and day when Maxey's supposed to be the guy with where he currently stands in his career. So I am so bothered by this nonsense. And then let's fast forward, because that was Wednesday night. Let's fast forward to the NBA trade deadline day and everything leading up to the 3 o'clock deadline. The first move is acquiring Buddy Hield. Okay, so you would think that sells a message that we are going to try and find pieces to help hold the fort down, because we don't want to be in a play-in. We don't want to drop to the 7th seed, 8th seed, hell, even worse than that. We need to be in the playoffs, so let's help our poor three-point attempts, because they are at the bottom of the league. They can't even jack shots up. They can't at all. So you need help desperately, and while Buddy Hield is atrocious and will get picked apart on the defensive side, you'll get switches and players licking their chops to abuse him possession after possession. You have zero answers on the three-point shooting side of things, that you have to take that risk, because the alternative, is we're not putting up enough shots, and that's not how you win in this league at this time. It's 2024, and this team is miserable even getting three-point shots off. Here's where things just get all out of whack. You're moving Pat Beverly, and now you know that they're probably trying to sign Kyle Lowry, because that's the buzz from everyone who covers the league nationally. So you got to replace the Pat Bev with Lowry. Okay, after you bring in Buddy Hield, you let go Daniel House, and then you trade Jaden Springer for a 2nd-round pick to the Boston Celtics. By the way, I haven't even added yet that you did call up other squads in the Eastern Conference, so now you're dealing with the devil, Boston, the team we despise. And by the way, they're competing. Not that Springer's going to be a big part of their future here, but from a low-risk, high-reward type of move for a good organization like the Celtics are. Maybe that should make your radar go off. So the luxury tax is an issue. They're somewhat making trades to try and get better in a couple of areas, but they're also selling off assets. And don't you realize what Springer was? Are you really maximizing Jaden Springer's return with the second-round pick? What was their plan? And I could tell you, I think their plan was to punt. I think get a little marginally better if they were a 3 out of 10. Maybe right now they're a 3.5 out of 10. So maybe they got marginally better with Buddy Hield, I think. But I think they were trying to sell. I think you never want to finish and go, I think that's what they wanted to do, because then they weren't clear. And they're throwing so many damn curveballs. They were juggling a bunch of different pieces around and really got nowhere except for a big question mark on where were you trying to take this. So what do you know? The 76ers seem to strike out. I won't be as angry as some fans about Pat Beverly in particular. I don't care that much about Pat Bev. Cool dude. I think he's awesome. I love hearing his pod when he's in this town. You get a different perspective on him, and you do feel like he loved this damn place and there was a connection and all. And I gotcha. Maybe there was something to his role, and I would imagine that everybody would agree that he gave you more than you ever would have anticipated at the time of the signing. So good for him. And he had some confidence to him, some arrogance to him, some toughness to him. Same with Marcus Morris. But that's not really helping you. But reality is, Pat Bev, all right, they move on from him. It's less about Pat Bev to me and more about the, where are they going with this? Yo, Daryl, was it really about punting to get Joel Embiid as healthy as humanly possible for next year? Because I think that's where they're going with this. But I don't know, truly. Another miserable day in Sixers world. And speaking of pushing things back, which I believe is the better option here, so I'm not insanely pissed. It's about how they got here, though. The confusion disappoints me. I wish it was wide open to the public and there's nobody debating on what you saw. Everyone in the city saw the same exact thing. That's what I preferred, because then it shows that there's cohesiveness in the front office. There's a plan, and the plan is being pursued, and the steps that are following make sense with the plans. Right now, you're just throwing so many different things in so many different directions. The Buddy Hield thing felt like you were going to buy in a bit more, so when Joel Embiid returns, in your eyes, you have another weapon, and even just someone who can maybe help out down the stretch with Tyrese Maxey. You need pressure off of some of these bodies because they don't have the spacing and they don't have the threat of being able to put the damn ball through the hoop from outside the three-point line. So, you just think that maybe that's where it's going, and then before you know it, your backup point guard's toast, but then they're probably going to bring in Kyle Lowry. So if they get back some second-round picks in the process and they don't think Kyle Lowry's that much of a dip from Pat Beverly, then they are retaining some of the second-round picks they lost in the trade. And, but I don't know. If they decided punting is where this was leaning more towards when you weigh all it out, I do think that that's probably the best. I do. Truly, truly do. I don't like how they got here, though. And